Oh! Wow. Just a few short days before landfall, what would become Category 4 Hurricane Helene was just a swirl in the clouds in the Western Caribbean, but meteorologists were well aware of the threat this tropical wave would soon pose. 9 days before the storm would hit Florida back on September 17th, the National Hurricane Center outlined an area to watch in the next 7 days for development in the Western Caribbean. Models had wide-ranging outcomes, from a hurricane in New Orleans to a heavy rainstorm in Tampa. 6 days before landfall, however, overall guidance slowly aligned that the Big Bend region of Florida was at risk, but the intensity now remains a great unknown. How would the system handle dry air from Mexico? Would it run over the Yucatan? How much would we see rapid intensification over the warm waters of the loop current in the eastern Gulf?
These might be some of the strongest winds we've had so far this evening.
What was certain is that the Big Bend region of Florida would once again be dealing with its third hurricane in 13 months, following Idalia in August 2023 and Debbie in August 2024. After a few days of slow development, by Wednesday, September 25th, it was increasingly likely we would be contending with a major hurricane at landfall. 10 a.m. Wednesday, Hurricane Helene is born, with a major hurricane now forecast at landfall. 7 a.m. Thursday, Helene reaches Category 2 strength, with rapid intensification well underway. This storm would go from Category 2 to Category 4 in just 13 hours.
And as we've got gusty winds, but not nearly as strong as they'll be later into the day today, as peak impacts will be about a 12-hour period or so for the winds, especially between around noon and midnight tonight, according to Chief Meteorologist Mike Hirsch, somewhere in the Big Bend area of Florida, as possibly a Category 4 devastating and catastrophic hurricane. Our live team coverage takes us into the Panhandle. And at last word, he was in Tallahassee, Florida, which is a small town to the east of Apalachicola. Nick Stewart is a storm chaser who we've heard from in Debbie most recently. And I'm seeing some of the video that you're sharing right now, Nick, of the wind and the waves that's moving in there. Are you still in Panacea, and are you planning to ride this out there or continue to kind of move inland or east a little bit from there?
Yeah, the plan is later on, once the stronger impacts begin to arrive, this area where I'm at right now, right near Panacea, as you mentioned, will likely go underwater from the storm surge. So I definitely am not messing with the storm surge with this. Likely we'll be heading inland up either towards the Tallahassee area or over towards Perry, kind of depending on exactly where the center of the storm wants to track.
Chief was just saying a few minutes ago that there had been some movement to the east in the last several runs of the updates for areas around Perry, which were hit pretty hard last year by Idalia, and into Lake City as well. But I anticipate that only increases their potential for wind damage and even storm surge.
Yeah, definitely we'll push more into the Big Bend region. The good news, if there is any with this, is that if there is a bit more of an easterly movement with this, Tallahassee would actually see some lesser impact. So, you know, it's unfortunate for areas like Perry, where the winds would likely be much, much stronger, and the storm surge in that area would be a little bit higher as well. But Tallahassee might actually get a little bit of a break from the absolute strongest winds if this kind of eastward trend with the models kind of continues.
Are you seeing much in the way of evacuations and or proper precautions being taken as you've been on the ground?
Yeah, I've been driving around this morning. I started in Perry, pretty much the drive from Perry to here near Alligator Point. A lot of the businesses, I'd say more than half, have those windows boarded up. A lot of the gas stations, for example, they still have power. They're still allowing you to get gas, but the windows are all boarded up. A lot of precautions have been taken.
Your kit has to look different than any other disaster supply kit that we talk about. So what are the things that you have maybe there with you that the average folk isn't thinking about? And what have you learned along the way of chasing these that you keep adding to that kit?
Yeah, for example, with most recently Debbie, one thing I'm packing this time around is a chainsaw with a lot of extra supplies to get that going. Tree damage will likely be a pretty big concern. I encountered a lot of downed trees during Debbie, and I was helping remove some of those trees with officials in the area with just axes. Nobody had a chainsaw. So I have a chainsaw with me in the back of my car.
Nick, thank you. And stay safe, please, and we'll continue to check in with you over the next several hours. 9 o'clock on the Thursday edition of Jacksonville's Morning News.
We are kind of protected by a barrier island, but I won't be here during landfall because the water here will likely be about 10 to 15 feet above my head. Very intense storm surge will be coming on through this whole area. All of this is expected to be inundated.
We're starting to get into one of the bigger bands right now. The really heavy rain is starting to fall as well. The winds are picking up. We're measuring, let's see, 28, 29, 30. We're starting to get some pretty stronger winds. We're kind of approaching that tropical storm force for winds here now. We do have a potential waterspout just off to my west-southwest coming on shore. I'm trying to kind of time the approach because I don't want to go too early and then just get hit by it. We're going to try and get ourselves a water spout here. This is the worst conditions we've seen so far. This is where our potential water spot would be. We have a water spout, it looks like. That circulation is passed. All right.
As the water slowly rose along the Gulf Coast, I decided to head inland to rest for a few hours, dig into the bottles, radar, and satellite data to try and pick a spot for landfall, while also making a few final preparations.
When you're in a hurricane, if you have power, top off on gas. That is like a rule.
Day turned to night, and Hurricane Helene continued to strengthen, now just a few short hours before landfall.
Current time is 7:13, September 26, 2024. We are in Crawfordville, Florida, getting ready to await what is now Category 4 Hurricane Helene. We're expecting some very powerful winds here. We are a little bit further inland. We don't want to be along the coast for the storm surge concern, which is talking upwards of 20 feet of storm surge. So we are just going to be dealing with the wind here. The hurricane is moving pretty fast. I mean, this will be moving at like 20 miles an hour as it makes landfall. So this will carry the very strong winds pretty far inland. Right now we're sitting in Crawfordville. We might have to adjust eastward to get into the eye. We'll see how things go.
As the hurricane started feeling the effects of land interaction, the eye began to wobble a bit farther east. To get into the eye and to avoid potential storm surge along US 98, I ran eastward toward Monticello before conditions deteriorated too much.
Time is 9:02 p.m. Extreme wind warning has just been issued off to my east. We're gonna move from Crawfordville up to the northeast towards Monticello. I probably should have made that decision long time ago, but I was constantly on the fence. But now's the time. Better late than never.
In our forecast, that will not change. Wind pretty significant on the high end, tornadoes on the high end for 2 hours. And while it'll rain heavily and steadily, the rainfall amounts in the end are not going to be all that great.
Live team coverage continues with Action Jack storm chaser Nick Stewart in Monticello. Hey Nick, what's going on?
Yeah, right now we're sitting along I-10 in Monticello. We are actually in that extreme wind warning. We are expecting conditions to rapidly go downhill here.
Once that eye wall really begins to push our way, we're starting to periodically get those tropical storm force gusts up this way, but we do intend to expect wind gusts upwards of 100 to maybe 120 miles per hour once that eye wall begins to push up this way.
Up towards I-10. And I will say I was driving from Tallahassee to Monticello, and there were quite a few semis still on the roadway, even with this very intense hurricane getting ready to bear down.
I'm surprised it didn't even try to come back on. Oh! Timing is everything. Yeah, we're at 972 millibar right now. We're starting to cook here. You see some power flashes back there. Good gust. Losing power again. All right, Super 8 is in the dark.
Monticello was getting hit hard by the western eye wall of Helene with gusts of 80 miles per hour. I would miss the center of the eye sitting here, as the movement was still east of true north. It was decision time. Do we take I-10 east into the eye while risking getting stuck on the interstate? Semi-traffic remained high and the potential for fallen trees is always a factor. But if we wanted to get into the eye, this would be the best way instead of smaller state highways, as I-10 is wider and the trees are farther from the side of the road, most of the way anyway. Wow. It was a calculated risk myself and Ethan, engineer and filmmaker of June 1st, decided to make.
right on the edge of the eye wall here. We're about to punch into the eye. We're very close. Right on the edge here. I can start seeing better already. I'm starting to get some better visibility here. All right, we're punching in the eye right now. Oh, another tree down right there. Tree down right before the rest area. We're holding steady at 951 millibar. It smells like pine.
With just gentle rain falling and rather calm winds, we successfully pushed into the eye of Helene on I-10. However, 2 miles before our exit, we hit our greatest concern.
Uh-oh.
Trees blocking traffic on the interstate. The next 2 miles of interstate took us about 2 hours to get through. Tree after tree blocking the roadway. Myself and several other storm chasers with chainsaws slowly made our way through the roadblocks.
I'm just trying to get up to the front. Except a chainsaw, but it's like a quarter mile up here. Oh, we have another tree.
As I'm cutting up my fourth tree, we had a problem. The southern part of the eye was now approaching with a thunderous uptick in the wind. All around us, I could hear more trees beginning to snap, strong gusts ripping through the trees. In all my years storm chasing, this was now one of the most concerning moments I've ever had, knowing that one of these pines could now come down right on top of us.
There. Any progress is good progress, right? I'm so soaking wet right now. I've just been pulling tree branches across I-10 for the last like 5 miles.
We weren't able to clear the road, but we could at least make a path. The exit we were trying to get to in the first place is now less than a mile ahead.
We're gonna be able to scoot by here.
Can we?
Yeah. I don't know how far we'll be able to go, but we can squeeze by here.
Okay.
That is... We just need to get out of this freaking pine. Alright, let's see what our next blockage is here. And like, I was ripping that tree up, and I could literally start hearing other trees snap in the woods.
Almost to the exit, my chainsaw bit the dust. The chain now had to be replaced, and I didn't have a backup. But thankfully, other chasers were still out there with chainsaws, getting ready to clear the path ahead.
You got any water or anything? Are you guys good?
I think I'm good.
You good? Okay.
Can I maybe steal a little extra fuel off you? Got about half a tank. I don't know if you got any yet.
Yeah. Like fuel, like for car fuel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
Do you want to just get up past these next trees?
Yeah, that's
Let
fine.
me
I'm getting off of this exit. Do you want to just meet at the exit then?
That works.
Okay, that works. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. That's called paying it forward, because they're the ones saving us right now with these chainsaws. Alright, we got 1 mile till our exit.
After a long stretch stuck on I-10, we finally made it through to the exit to Greenville. There were more issues farther east on the interstate, so we decided to call it a night here. By morning, the true scope of the destruction was becoming clear, with significant tree and building damage. Millions of people were without power across the region. As the sun peeked from behind the clouds in Florida, several hundred miles to the north, tragedy was just starting as historic flooding ravaged the southern Appalachians, all tied to Helene, a storm which will go down as one of the more devastating weather catastrophes in U.S. history. I'm meteorologist Nick Stewart.